The global minimum corporate tax, which was led by the OECD, is now part of a reality as of the beginning of the year. 36 countries have already introduced laws setting a 15% floor on corporate taxation. More than 100 countries have to, in a sense, follow. The OECD estimates it will bring in $192 billion globally and expects this will reshape the flow of foreign investments. They'll be more likely to be driven by workforce, education, infrastructure instead of tax bills. Mathias Cormann is the Secretary-General. It's coming in. How long do you think you'll see before the benefits flow?
Well, we expect that by the end of this year, about 60% of relevant revenues will be subject to the global minimum tax, and by 2025, about 90% of revenue around the world will be subject to this tax.
The problem with the tax is there's no ring fencing of the product, of the revenues, in a sense. So to get the full benefit is really up to each individual government and how they choose to do it.
Well, no, but in the end, if a government doesn't collect at least 15%, then other governments can collect the difference, and which is why this will become a self-perpetuating tax over time.
Right, but how it's spent by the countries is a core question.
Well, I mean, that is ultimately a matter for the internal processes of individual countries. But what this will do, it will, in particular, it will reduce pressure on developing countries to offer inappropriately low taxations in order to attract investment.
If we look at the OECD's latest forecasts for global growth, anecdotally here, people are telling me it's not going to be a dreadful year, but it's not going to be a brilliant year either. It's going to be one of those years that you trudge through the mud. Do you believe that? Is that what you're seeing?
The first point to make is that the global economy has been remarkably resilient given everything that's been happening in recent years. The second point is, yes, I mean, we do see an easing of growth in 2024, and to a degree, I mean, that is the deliberate result of monetary policy tightening in countries around the world. But we do see a slight pickup in growth then in 2025 as things start to normalize.
There are some worrying signs on inflation out of Germany and the Eurozone, which could delay an easing of monetary policy. You know me, you know journalists like me, as soon as the rates gone up, then we want to know when they're coming down. Now, last night, we got a sort of an idea that it might not be as soon as we think.
Well, the truth is that there's a lot of downside risk in the global economy, and there are a lot of external shocks there are a lot of things that could happen, but our current expectation is that inflation in most countries will continue to trend down over 2024-25, and that there will be an easing cycle starting towards the end of this year, early next year.
And as you've been listening to our program tonight, there are so many potentially exogenous events that could just throw this whole thing up. Particularly, of course, what's going, the Red Sea will have an effect. Maybe not huge, but it will have an effect. You've just got an escalation. I think it's arguably foolish to talk about will the war in Israel-Hamas escalate. It's escalated. It's already in other parts of the world.
Geopolitical tensions are a very significant downside risk for the global economy, no question. And clearly the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, is a very important transport corridor when it comes to global trade. And of course, I mean, the world would be much better off if we could resolve some of those conflicts and get onto a pathway towards peace.
Choose your colour, dear sir. Blue. What a surprise. Come over here. Where are you on the ready for AI? And as a society, and bearing in mind the OECD, you're very concerned about AI.
Well, I mean, the first point to make is that a lot of upside benefits come with AI.
Yes.
We need to ensure that they can be widely shared and fairly shared. But there's also a lot of downside risks and disruptions that need to be managed.
Where are we at the moment?
Well, look, I mean, I think there's quite a bit of work to be done to be properly prepared.
Yes.
And these are all relevant issues that need to be addressed.
Oh, do that again. Do that again. Go on.
All of these issues will need to be addressed.
There we go. Very grateful to you, sir.
Always good to
Thank
talk
you
to you.
very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed.